Okay, good morning, everyone. As we broadcast for tonight back here in our flagship station at Egris Beis Zev of Fairways Lakewood, and we are sponsored in our journey through this Masechta by Eddie Chazan for Shalema, for Yedidia, and for Panina. And we are sponsored by Eli and Orit, by Shelley Zeitlin, for Shalema, for Moshe Meir Ben Esther Pradel, and in the schus of their children, Eli and Orit and Ora. And we're sponsored Lila Nishmas David Ben Chaim. That is, Neshama should have a great aliyah. We are holding in the Gemara on the bottom of Daf Tes Amud Beis, Tanu Rabbanan. The Gemara is 7 lines from the bottom of Daf Tes Amud Beis. Tanu Rabbanan, Shalosh Orim Hivdol Moshe Be'ever HaYarden. 3 cities of refuge did Moshe Rabbeinu separate in the Transjordan. U'kenegdon Hivdol Yeshua Be'eretz Canaan. And corresponding to them, Yeshua also had 3 cities of refuge in the land of Canaan, in Eretz Yisrael proper. These 3 cities on the Transjordan and the 3 cities in Eretz Yisrael paralleled one another as 2 rows in a vineyard. And the Gemara shows how they paralleled. Chevron b'Yehuda, Chevron in Eretz Yisrael proper, Keneged Betzer b'Midbar, corresponding to Betzer in the desert in the Transjordan, Shechem Bahar Ephraim, Shechem in the Mount of Ephraim in Eretz Yisrael proper, Keneged Ramos b'Gilad, opposite Ramos in Gilad, and Kedesh Bahar Naphtali, Kedesh in the mountains of Naphtali, Keneged Golan b'Bashan, and that is opposite the Golan in the lands of Bashan. B'Shilashta, it says that you should make them into equal 3 segments. Shehei midaraim lechevrain, there should be a distance from Daraim to Chevron, Kimechevron l'Shechem, like the distance from Chevron to Shechem, or Mechevron l'Shechem should be equal of a distance Kimishchem l'Kedesh, like from Shechem to Kedesh, or Mishchem l'Kedesh, and from Shechem to Kedesh should be equal to Mekedesh l'Tzafon. It should be equal to the distance of Kedesh to the north. Be'ever HaYarden Tlas, and Be'eretz Yisrael Tlas, in the Transjordan there's 3, and in Eretz Yisrael there's 3. Now that doesn't make sense. The Transjordan was only for 2.5 Shvatim, Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe, while the majority, 9.5 tribes, were in Eretz Yisrael proper. Why was there an equal amount of cities of refuge for 3 versus 9.5? Amar Abaya says, you know why? Because Gilad in the Transjordan, Shchichei Reitzchem, had many killers, and therefore there was a necessity for a large amount of Orei Miklotais, of cities of refuge. The Gilad, Kiryas Poalei Avain, Gilad was a city of doers of sin. Akuva Midam. Now, Akuva is a funny lashon. What does it mean, Akuva? Akuva is like a heel. What does it mean, a heel of blood? Amar Abelazar Shaya Oikvin. Oikvin also means to wait. So Shaya Oikvin Laharog Nefashis. They waited to kill people. So you'll say, but if they waited to kill people, that's premeditated. And if it's premeditated, you don't need an Arei Miklat for premeditated murder. So Mefarshim answer, they did it in a way where they made it look like it was an accident. Now, the problem is that the cities on the extremities, they left if let's say somebody sinned in the north, he would have to go the full length to the closest city. While the cities in the middle, you had, if you were in midway, you only had to go half the distance because you had a city on either side. That people lived on the extremities, they had to travel a full length in order to get to the Ori Miklat. But if you're in inland, you only had to go half the distance, or a quarter of the distance, because you had on both sides an Ori Miklat. Amar Abayis, so Abayis says, well, in inland there was also a problem of murderers. B'Shchem nami shlichei reitzchem. In Shchem there was also a multitude of killers. D'chsiv u'kichake ish gedudim, and like a band of people waiting. Chever kahanim, like a group of kahanim. Derech Yiratzchu Shechma. They murdered on the way to Shem. Now, what does it have to do with Kehanim? Leave the Kehanim out of this. Kehanim are pious people. What's this business of Chever Kehanim? Says the Gemara, my Chever Kehanim. Amar Rabbi Lazar Shaya Mischabrim Larag Nefashis. They banded to kill people. In the same way, Kehanim alalu, like Kehanim shemechabrim, that banded lach like trumas bebeis agronis, just like Kehanim came in droves in order to gather their truma from the threshing floor. So also these people in the area, in the region of Shem, they were in murderous bands. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. There's only 6 Ari Miklatas. It says any city of a Levi is a city of refuge. Now it says that there were 42 cities of the Levium. So what do you mean? There was 6 and then 42, that should be 48. Why do you always say that there's only 6 Ari Miklatas? Asks the Gemara, V'suleka, v'aksiv v'alein, and on top of them, titnu arba mushtayim er, the 42 cities of the Levites. Remember, the Levium were not given a chelik in Eretz Yisrael, so they were given 42 cities. Amar Abaya, halalu koltais bein ladas, bein shaloi ladas. The 6 cities of refuge, they save the person whether he's aware he was in the city of refuge or not. Halalu, but the 42 cities of the Levium, ladas koltais, only if he's aware does it save. Shaloi ladas einon koltais. Says Gemara. By the way, the Rishonim over here say that there are other differences. One very interesting difference is that if Mark, did something to someone b'shogeg, and he used that for an excuse of not coming to the shiur one day this week, right? It's right. He did something b'shogeg. If he's in one of the 42 cities, he has to pay rent. If he's in one of the 6 cities of refuge, he doesn't have to pay rent. So anyway, bear that in mind, Mark. Says the Gemara, V'chevroin ir. Says the Gemara, V'chevroin ir miklatu. Was Chevron a city of refuge? I don't understand. It wasn't a city of the Levium. Wasn't Chevron given to Kalev? That they gave to Kalev Chevron like Moshe promised him. Says the Gemara, Kalev did not get Chevron proper. Chevron proper was a city of Levium. He got the suburbs. He got the fields. Amar Abaya, he got Parvadoha. He got the suburbs of Chevron. The Chsiv, he got the Hamptons of Chevron. The Chsiv Esdeya Ir, and the fields of the city. There's Chatzeireha and its suburbs. Nasnu leKalev ben Yefuna. That was given to Kalev ben Yefuna. But now we have a different puzzle. The Kedesh Ir Mikladave. We said that there was a city called Kedesh that was a city of refuge. We know that the city of refuges, none of them were fortified cities. So the Gemara says, how could Kedesh be an Ir Miklat? Vaksiv. Okay, so somebody is not muted. Let's see who.
Check.
He's muted now. Okay. He knows it's his Omer buzzer. Okay. Okay. All right. Troublemakers all over the place. You know why he has all those people in the background? So he can blame it on all of them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה b'dvaro.
Rabbi, as long as we're paused, if somebody murdered within the Eri Miklat, does he have to go to another
So
one?
the Gemara says he goes. We're going to talk about it. Either he goes to a different neighborhood in that Ir Miklat. The Gemara is going to talk about such a situation. So now, so the Kedesh Ir Miklat Ave is Kedesh a city of refuge? V'aksiv v'orei miftzar, the fortified cities, which are Hatzidim, Ser, v'chemes, Rakas, v'kineres, v'kedesh, v'edrei, and v'ein chotzer. So we see Kedesh is a city of refuge, a fortified city. A fortified city can't be a city of refuge. Vatanya, Arim alalu ein oisin oisai loitirim ketanim. The 6 cities of refuge can't be small little hamlets. And not big fortified metropolises. Only medium cities. So if Kedesh was a fortified city, how could it be an Orei Miklat? Rabbi Yosef, an old answer, Tarte Kedesh Ave. There are 2 Kedeshes. Ravashi, Kigain, like Slikum, the Akra de Slikum, similar to Slikum and the fort of Slikum. So there was a big Kedesh, and then there was a smaller ancillary Kedesh, and it was the smaller ancillary Kedesh that was the city of refuge. Gufa, they can't be small hamlets, they can't be huge metropolises. It's only mediocre cities. We could only make them in a place where there's a steady source of water. Remember, once the killer escapes to the Ori Miklat, he can't leave it. Because if he leaves it, he opens himself up to the avenging relative. So in order we have to make sure that there is a source of water for him. And if there isn't ample water, we provide canals to bring in water. And there has to be sufficient markets there that he could, live comfortably. We only put them in a place where there's ample people, that if the Goyal Adam gets a band of rough people around him, they will be discouraged from coming in and trying to hurt the killer. Nismatu uchlusayim, if the population diminishes, we make sure that there's enough strong arms. Nismatu diurayan, if there's less citizens in the city, Mevi'in lam kahanim leviim v'Yisraelim, we provide them kahanim leviim and Yisraelim in order to have God-fearing people there to dissuade the Goyal Adam to come in and take vengeance. We don't have a Walmart there that sells weapons or even hunting materials, because we don't want the Goyal Adam to come in and be able to buy a weapon. Divrei Reb Nechemia. The Chachamim say that you could sell weapons, but b'shavin she'ein person b'seicha mitzudas, we don't let trappers come in, because then the Goyal Adam will have an excuse to come in as a trapper. Ve'ein mafshilun l'seicha chavalim. nor do we have an industry of rope making. The industry of rope making was something that was very lucrative, and if we would have such an industry, it would give an excuse for the Goyal Adam to come in and then be able to chas v'shalom kill the one who killed B'shaygeg. Kedei shelo yitei Goyal Adam mitzuyim misham, in order that the Goyal Adam should not have a reason to have access there. Amar Rav Yitzchak Ma'ikra, where do we find a reference to this? V'nos el achas min ha'arim ha'el v'choy. He'll flee to one of these cities and be able to live. We have to make it that he could live there comfortably, with a water source, with shvakim, with marketplaces, that he should be able to have a life. Tana, Talmud Shigala, a disciple that goes into exile, Maglin Rabbi Imai, we exile his Rebbe with him. Shenemar v'choy, it says that he has to be able to live, and without a Rebbe, he doesn't have Torah, he doesn't have life. Of course, you have to know, when you tune in to zoomdaf.com and you put in RMMW all in caps, you're coming into life. And that we'll see, that's why a Rebbe should have many Talmidim, because we only exile the Rebbe if that's his only Talmud. If it's not his only Talmud, he can't be exiled for one Talmud and leave all of his other Talmidim, right? So that's why I make sure that my only Talmud is not Barry, because if my only Talmud was Barry, who knows where I'll be exiled, right? So therefore, I make sure to have Barry, and I make sure not to just have Barry and Marshall, and I make sure not to have Barry, Marshall, and Eddie. But, I make sure to have enough people so that they need me where I am. And anyway, I have Zoom now, so I could pipe it into the Arei Miklat anyway. But where do you think Barry is right now? So anyway, says the Gemara, Tana, Amar Reb Zira, you shouldn't teach a Talmud that's not worthy, because if you teach a Talmud that's not worthy, you could end up having to be exiled to the Arei Miklat. I don't know if you remember, but in order to get into this shir, you had to fill out a membership, and over there it asks questions about how you swing your axe and different things. You didn't fill out such a paper? All right. Shelley was supposed to take care of that. Amar Reb Yochanan, Harav Shegala. If the Rebbe kills somebody with Shogeg, so then he takes his yeshiva with him. Harav Shegala Maglin Yeshivasa Yimai. The yeshiva goes with him, and they need the Rebbe. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Why should the Rebbe have to go to an Arei Miklat? Isn't the Torah a protective security? Says the Gemara, why does a Rebbe have to go into Galus? How do we know that words of Torah saves a person? Shenemar as Betzer Bamidbar. Now Betzer is one of the Arei Miklatas, and right after it says V'zayis Torah Adam Ki Yamas Ba'aya. So we see that Torah is like an Arei Miklat. So why does the Rebbe have to go into an Arei Miklat? Says Gemara, you know why? Because the Goyal Adam could kill him when he's sleeping, when he's not learning. He could kill him when he's eating. You're right, while he's learning, it protects him. But while he's not learning, it could get him. My Colton, what does it mean Torah protects? It doesn't mean Torah protects him from the Goyal Adam. It means that Torah protects him from Malach HaMaves, from the angel of death. It was time for Rav Chisda to be recalled to heaven. It was his case. It was his fixed time. And he was learning. Now, his learning protected him. Remember, this is Torah Lishma. He was learning, right, to be, like we do, to be Mekayim the mitzvah with Dibar Tabam, Lasis Nachas Ruach Liyitzreinu. So he was learning Torah Lishma, and Yetzirah could not, the Malach HaMavis could not get him. Couldn't come near him. He didn't stop learning. It wasn't like, some people learn, and they talk about the Mets and the Yankees and the market, and it wasn't like that. He was constantly learning. I remember that we used to have on this year. I'm still trying to get him back. We used to have a wonderful Talmud of mine who learned Shas with me 2 times, Mark Rosenblum. Mark Rosenblum was learning in Chaim Berlin when Rav Miller was Mashkiach in Chaim Berlin. And there were 2 guys learning in the Beis Medrash, and they were schmoozing. They were shooting the breeze. Look how shocked Mark is. Yeah, Mark, some people do that. Some people, they were shooting the breeze. And Rav Miller came over to them and he said, "Gentlemen, what would it be, Scotch or rye?" In order to, indicate that they're treating the Beis Medrash like a bar. Right? But that wasn't the way that Rav Chisda learned. Rav Chisda was, every moment he was learning. So the Malach HaMavis couldn't touch it. Solik v'yosiv arza de beirav. So the Malach HaMavis climbed up on a cedar tree in the yeshiva, and Poka Arza, the cedar tree split and made a huge bang, Vishasik, and Rav Chisda was momentarily silenced from the shock, and presto, the Yochale, he was able to take him away. So we see Torah protects from the Malach HaMavis, but not from the Goyal Adam, and therefore the Rebbe would have to go into the Ari Miklat. This is something to always remember, the protective powers of Torah. I told you that, it's very incongruous that it says that there was a fight between Yaakov and Samuel, right? The famous fight. The man struggled with him, wrestled with him until the morning. It was a fight to the death. The Medrash says that it was the Malach HaMavis. Samuel is Samkel, the poison of God. But it says, Vayarki lo yachaloi. He saw that he couldn't prevail. It's teaching us that Yaakov, we have a tradition, Yaakov Avinu lo meis, he never died. Why? Because Yaakov ish tam yoshev ha'olim. Oyalim doesn't mean, in Cape Cod and in Arad, in Eretz Yisrael. Oyalim is the yeshivas of Shem ve'ever. He was always learning. It says Yaakov learned 14 years and didn't sleep. And therefore the Malach HaMavis couldn't get him. That's the lesson. Torah protects us. Very big protection, Torah.
Or bring down the story from David HaMelech.
So they asked that question, and they answered that David HaMelech learned, knowing that he was going to die on Shabbos, and he learned to protect himself, specifically for that reason. It's showing us that Rav Chisda, who didn't learn to protect himself, even so it protected him. Amar Rav Tanchem bar Chaniloi, Mipnei ma'azok Ruvain limones batzola tchila. Why was Ruvain's Ari Miklat the first one to be counted? You know why? Mipnei shu pasach batzola tchila, because he rescued Yosef first. They wanted to kill him forthwith, and he said, put him in a bar. Yishma Ruvain v'yatzileyu miyadam, and in reward for that, he had a city of refuge. It's a very big thing, here's a person that allows a Hatzalah ambulance to be parked in his garage or in his driveway, so it should be in a strategic place. That's a very big thing. To have by you an instrument of refuge, it's a huge schus. Dorish Rebbe Simloi, Maidich Siv Oz Yavdel Moshe Sholosh Orim Be'ever Hayam Mizracha Shamash. What does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu separated 3 cities on the Transjordan, Mizracha Shamash, towards the sun? What does that mean? Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Hazrech Shemesh L'Reitzchem. Shine the sun on these killers. In other words, make it, like we said, a place where they could be happy, make sure there's markets, make sure there's water source. Ikeda Amrei, others say he told them, you accomplished, Amalei Yizrachta Shemesh L'Reitzchem, you shone the sun on these killers by setting up these 3 cities of refuge. Dorish Reb Tzimai expounded, and this is a famous pasuk. The pashtus of this pasuk is a life lesson of staggering proportions. One who loves silver will never be satisfied with silver. One who loves money will never have enough money. Now this is very scary. It means that money is quicksand. When you get caught in quicksand, you drown. There's a reason why a name of a coin is matbeya. Matbeya is from the lashon of tova, to drown. People drown in money. Because a person, it says, Mishi Yeshlemana writes a Messiah. If somebody has 100, he wants 200. But it says, Ein Adam Meis v'chatzi tavasa biyada. He doesn't die having achieved half his desires. So that means if he has 200, he wants 400. And if he has 1 million, he wants 2 million. And if he has 10 million, he wants 20 million. That means he keeps on getting further from his objective. That's a very scary thing. I once heard Reb Noach Weinberg tell a story of a man who used to walk. Chaim and Chatzkel used to walk 10 blocks to work. And then one day Chaim came with a 10-speed Schwinn bike. And Chatzkel was so jealous. And he saved and he saved and he saved until he was able to buy a 10-speed Schwinn bike. He was the happiest man in the world. Until Chaim came with a Honda motorcycle. Oh, and he's blasting his way while Chatzkel is pedaling in the terrible heat. And he's so jealous until he affords a Honda. And then Chaim buys a Rambler. Now it's pouring in the rain, and Chaim is whistling in his car, and Chatzkel is getting soaked, and he's so jealous, until he saved and he saved and he saved, and he bought a Rambler. He was happy until Chaim got a Cadillac. Now Chatzkel, he saves. He buys a Cadillac, and he's happy until Chaim gets a chauffeur. He saves, and he gets a chauffeur, and he's happy until Chaim gets himself a helicopter. And now in minutes he's in by the office helipad, and Chatzkel is berserk with jealousy, and he saves, and he gets himself a helicopter, and Chaim gets a Learjet. You notice what's happening over here. He keeps on getting further and further and further away from what he wants. That's the drowning of the desires Oyev kesef lo yizbe kesef. Umi ohev behamoin. And somebody loves plenty, the many, loy tvua. We'll see that we dash in the loy as to him is the yield. To him is the produce. So now the Gemara says, one of the homiletic drushes of Oyev Kesef Lo Yizba Kesef is it's a symbol of mitzvahs. That if you love mitzvahs, you never have enough mitzvahs. Oyev Kesef Lo Yizba Kesef Zeh Moshe Rabbeinu. He knew that the 3 cities of refuge in the Transjordan will not protect anybody unless they already appointed the 3 in Eretz Canaan. So why did he appoint them if they're not operative? But he loved mitzvahs. I'm going to do it as soon as I can, because I love mitzvahs, like it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, Chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. Umi oyev behamayin loy tevua. And he who loves the many, to him will be produce. L'mi noah lelamed behamayin, who merits to teach the masses? Somebody that has the knowledge of all of Torah. Misha kol tvua shalai. He embraces all of knowledge, so he's fit to teach Torah. Who could speak about the mights of Hashem? Yashmiya kol tilasa, one who could announce all of his praise. Who is fitting to publicly teach the might of Hashem? Somebody who knows all of his praise. Rabbanan v'yisei Rabba bar Moriyama, they expound this pasuk differently. Mi oyev behamoin, somebody who loves the teachers of the multitudes. That means he loves Torah scholars. Loy tevua, to him it's proper to be given yield of Torah, to be given children Talmidei Chacham. Yov be'Rabbanan einayu be'Rava b'rei de Rabba, the Rava, the son of Rabba, who honored Torah teachers and was zeicha to children Talmidei Chacham. Siman Ashi Lilmod Ravina L'Lamed, Rav Ashi Amar. Rav Ashi expounds the pasuk yet differently. One who likes to learn amongst many people, he will succeed in his learning. Now, in other words, Torah should not be learned in a vacuum. Because if you're learning Torah alone, maybe you're just learning it all wrong. Now, today, we're a little protected by this because we learn from Svarim. We learn from an art scroll. We learn from a Mesifta Gemara. And we have the check in place, the Pirushim of these think tanks. So it's never like we're learning alone. But in the olden days, a person that learned alone without a Rebbe, he could be learning everything wrong. And the Gemara says, if he learns in the Beis Medrash with teachers, with colleagues, he will get the yield of the Torah. A sword against those who are alone and they are foolish. A sword on the necks of the enemies of Talmidei Chachamim. They sit and they deal in Torah bad bivad. They learn individually. They become foolish. They become fools. Not only do they deserve to be punished by the sword, but it makes them foolish. And we know that the word of the no'alu means foolish. Uksiv asam asher no'alnu v'asher chatanu. That means foolishness. Not only are they foolish, but they will end up sinning. Shenema v'asher chotanu. They'll end up sinning because they're learning completely the wrong pshat. No alu sarei tzan. The officers of Zion have become foolish. Ravina says yet another explanation. If a person wants to teach many people, he will get yield, because one who teaches many people learns a lot from the disciples. That's a very big thing. You learn a lot from your disciples. Much Torah did I learn from my Rebbeim, from my colleagues more than them, and from my disciples, I learned more than all of them. I love to tell the story over here of what a person gains from Talmidim. I once met the Venerable Rav Schwab. I had to ask him a shaila. We won't go into that now. And it was at an Aguda convention. And I had to ask him a weighty question. And I asked him if I could have a few moments. So it was Thursday evening. So he invited me to eat breakfast with him the next morning. Very big covet. One of the Gedolei Adar at the time. Those that remember Rav Schwab coming to Aguda conventions, he was always wheelchair bound, and he spoke for the entire massive crowd from a wheelchair. It was something, and he was of course Yekish. He spoke from a paper. Every word was weighed. I remember his speech used to go in exactly the way it was into the Jewish Observer. The editors didn't have to amend even one word. And so at that time I was giving a very big share in Borough Park to about 250 people. Truth of the matter is now this year is also to 250 people, except that we don't see the 250 people. It's carried on all different types of streamings, and with everybody together, it's more than 250 people. But Rav Schwab stunned me by asking me, Rabbi Weiss, how could somebody who teaches a large crowd learn Torah Lishma? The idea of his question is you enjoy saying a pshat, and you have a good feeling that everybody hears your pshat. How could that be completely sincere? So I didn't answer. So he looked at me, he said, you can't. You can't. It can't be perfectly Lishma. Can't. He said, but what is it? You got people in the crowd who work the whole day, and their eyes are closing, and they're shaking themselves to pay attention. He says, those people are learning Torah Lishma. And since you're causing it, that's your Torah Lishma. And that's the meaning of Mitalmida Yosim Mikulan. Maybe I won't get Torah Lishma, but because I'm generating Torah Lishma, so I get the schus that I'm causing you to learn Torah Lishma. Says the Gemara, Amr Bishur ben Levi, now this is very important for the political climate now in Eretz Yisrael. All those secular Jews that feel that it's not fair that their children are dying in the battlefield while those people who are learning are getting away. So the Gemara says it's not so. It's a partnership. Amar Bishur ben Levi, that our feet are firm by the gates of Yerushalayim. Mi garam l'ragleinu sheyamdu b'milchama. What allows the IDF to be staunch in the battlefield? Shara Yerushalayim, the gates of Yerushalayim, shaya oiskim b'Torah. It's the Torah that gives the strength to the soldiers at the front. Rabbi Shua ben Levi, My dichsiv shira malis David, a song of ascents of David. Samachti, I rejoiced, ba'omrim li beis Hashem nelach, when they said to me, let's go to the house of Hashem. Now Hashem said that David HaMelech, whose hands had the blood of battle, he won't be able to build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash was only be built by his son Shlomo. So they said, when will David HaMelech die that we could have a Beis HaMikdash? And David HaMelech said about himself, Samachti, I rejoiced when they say they already wanted the Beis Hashem, even though it means that I'm going to die, he said. I hear people saying, when will this old man die? And Shlomo's son will come, and build the Beis HaMikdash, and we'll be able to do the mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel, v'samachti. And I was happy. I didn't say, oh, they want me to die. V'samachti. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hashem said, don't be in such a rush. I want you to know that your learning is worth more than 1,000 karbanas in the Beis HaMikdash. Ki toiv yoim b'chatzerecha. It's better for me one day in your courtyard of your learning, may elef than 1,000 karbanas. Toiv li yoim echad she'ata oisik b'Torah lefanai. Better one day that you learn Torah, may elef oilos, from 1,000 burnt offerings, she'asid shleima bincha la'akriv lefanai al gabe hamizbech. Right? We know this. We know that the Torah is worth more than oilos zvachim.
Rabbi Weiss, it said up above 15 lines. So me, I have my mind loy tua. It's just a printer's error that it says loy with an aleph.
No, it's al tikre loy elaloi.
Oh, okay.
Now, u'mechuvanas lahem drachim, and you should lay out roads to the Arei Miklat. And as we're about to turn the page, I think I could already have Derech Eretz. I know this is a very hard time during Chalamoid for people to join, yet we still have many people joining us. So we welcome in Aaron Swade, Menachem Umansky, Shelley Zeitlin. We welcome in Mo Kushner and Baruch Ian, who has been missing in absence. No excuse for that. A.B. Spry, Mark Frankel, Yisrael Fisher, Shimon Klein, Michal, Yaakov Warman, Barry Cement, Nachman Chapler, Reuven Shannon, Yitzi Muller, Chaim Kramer, Chaim Lerner, Ilya Shutman, Avram Rezepkowitz here in Shul. We have Berish Gesseman, we have Danny Vogel, we have Michal Avram, Chavin. So says the Gemara Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, Mikla Toyakosov al Prashas Drachim. It said, by any crossroads, there was a sign pointing, Miklat this way, Kadei Sheyakar Aritzeach, so that the killer should see it, V'yifna l'sham, and know to go there. He shouldn't get lost. Amrav Gana Maikra, Tochin l'cha derech. Prepare the way. Asi l'cha achana l'derech. Make preparations that he should know where to go. Rav Chana bar Chanina, Pischalai Parshas Samiach. Rav Chana bar Chanina prefaced this sugya of the Arei Miklat with the following: Toiv v'yosher Hashem. Hashem is good and upright. Al kein yoyrech hatoim b'derech. Therefore, he instructs the sinners where to go. Im l'chatoim yoyrech. If he enables the sinner to get there safely, kal v'chaymer l'tzadikim. You should know for sure how he enables the righteous and leads the righteous. Rabbi Nishlam paves the way for the righteous. Rab Shimon ben Lakish Pasal Piskolai Parshas Samiacha. When talking about Arei Miklat, he started darshaning from the following pasuk. Va'asher, the pasuk says, the lashon of the pasuk is Va'asher lo tzada. He did not lie in ambush. Va'elikim ino liyadai. But Hashem brought it to his hand. Kasher Yomer Mishala Kadmoini, like the ancient one, that's the Rabbeinu Shalom, gives a parable. Meirisham Yetze Resha. From a wicked person, there will come out wickedness. In other words, Hashem makes sure that the score is evened. B'shnei b'nei Adam. Here we have two people, Yankel and Chatzkel, Shahorgu es nefesh. Yankel and Chatzkel each killed the person. Echad hareg b'shageg. Yankel killed the person unwittingly. The Echad hareg b'meiz, and Chatzkel killed the person on purpose. Now both did it without witnesses. So Yankel wasn't able to be sent to the Arei Miklat, and Chatzkel wasn't able to be sent to execution because there was no witnesses. L'zein edim, l'zein edim. What did Hashem do? Hashem evens the score. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mazminon lepundik echad. Hashem brings Yaakov and Chatzkel to the same inn. Zeh shehoreg b'meizid Chatzkel, who killed somebody on purpose. Yoshev tachas asulim. He's sitting under the ladder. V'zeh shehoreg b'shoigeg, and Yaakov killed somebody b'shoigeg. Yored basulim. He's coming down the ladder. And v'nafal alav, he falls on Chatzkel v'hargai, and he kills Chatzkel. Zeh shehoreg b'meizid. Therefore, Chatzkel, who killed somebody with premeditation, Nerak, he's killed like he's supposed to be killed. V'zeh shehoreg b'shoigeg, and Yaakov, who killed somebody b'shoigeg, is now Gaila. So Merisham, in that case, means from these wicked people, Yotzer Resha. They will do Resha, and they'll get their desserts.
How do we reconcile this with the concept of in the Olam Haba, it's things are evened out as opposed to Olam Hazeh?
Well, the Gemara says that even though today we don't have Arba Mises Bezdin, but Din Arba Mises Bezdin we have. And that if somebody was supposed to get skila, he'll fall off a ladder. If somebody is supposed to be burned, he'll die in a blaze. So we see that certain scores are even in this world. Now, Amar Rabba Bar Avhuna, Amar Rav Huna. Rabba Bar Avhuna says in the name of Rav Huna, V'imela Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rabba Lazar, Min ha-Torah, min ha-Neviim, min ha-Kesuvim, both from the Torah, from the prophets, and from the later prophets, we learn out the rule, B'derech she'adam reitza leilach ba, malich naisai. The way a person wants to go, that's the way he is led. This, Rabbi Isai, is the great klal, the tremendous fundamental principle of Ratzon. Ratzon, the proper will, is a powerful kayak to bring things to fruition. If people would know this, they would redirect their thinking. Here's a person who doesn't have such a good marriage. You need to have a strong will to make your marriage better. If you have a strong will, you really want it, then b'derech she'adam reitza malicha naisa. The ancient darshanim say that Ratzon is the same letters as Tzinar. Tzinar is a pipeline. Your Ratzon creates a pipeline that brings what you want to fruition. So what Rav Nachman Mebreslov says, Ein davar oimed b'fnei Ratzon. Nothing stands in the way of Ratzon. I told you many times this, that the Gaon, the Vilna Gaon, Zechet Tzadik L'Vrachas, Chusi Yagan Aleinu, said that the word Bereshis is an acronym for the 6 most important pursuits of life. 4 out of the 6 are obvious. Beis is B'tachin, Aleph is Ava, Yud is Yira, and Tuf is Torah. Those are easy shmizi. it's the shin and the reish of Bereshis that's a big chiddush. Shin, he says, is not shalom, it's not simcha. Shin is shtika. No, you got to keep your mouth shut. That's what we said. Karpas is klal rishon pesas. And reish is not ruchnius, and it's not rachmanis. Reish is ratzon. To develop a ratzon, here's a person that has the will, the ferocious will to daven better. If you have a will to daven better, you're going to bring it to fruition. Here's a person that wants to give tzedakah. He doesn't have the money, but he really wants to give tzedakah. Hashem will get him money to give tzedakah. So the Gemara says this is such an important concept. We have this in other places in Shas, that a certain concept is so important that it's a triple header, a triple crown. It's taught in Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. This is a triple crown. See, when Barry thinks of a triple crown, he thinks about secretariat. And if you don't know, secretariat is a horse. It wasn't Barry's horse, but it was a horse. Barry, you remember Secretariat, right? Yeah, I know. You look a little bit like him. I know you don't think I remember how Secretariat looks. So the Gemara says, Minat Torah, first Hashem told Bilam, don't go with them, don't curse Klal Yisrael. But he wanted so much that the Rebbeinu Shalom told him, Ksiv kum lech, you can get up and go. Kum lechitam, go with them. Minan Nevi'im, from the prophets, Dichsiv ani Hashem elikecha, melamedcha lahayil, I teach you for your benefit, but madrichecha, I lead you b'derech telech. I lead you in the way that you want to go. And menaksuvim dichsivim leitzim hu yalitz. For the mockers, he allows them to scoff. Ulanavim yitein chen. For the humble, he gives them grace. So the way a person wants to go, that's the way they're led. Ravuna, Reitzeach Shegala l'ir miklat, a Reitzeach that is exiled to the ir miklat, or Matzah Goyal Adam, and on the way the Goyal Adam finds him, v'hargu, and the Goyal Adam kills him, Potter. He's Potter. Why? Because Kasavar, when it says V'loi ein mishpat mavis, to him there's no punishment of death. It's talking about the avenger. The avenger is not put to death if he avenges the death of his relative. It's talking about the killer, that the killer b'shaygei doesn't deserve to die. Maybe it's talking about the avenger. He didn't hate him from the day before. Or 2 days before, we see that the subject of the pasuk is the killer, and it's saying that the killer, since it was b'shaygeg, v'loy ein mishpat mavis. It's not talking about the Goyal Adam. It says Gemara, it's a machlokes. Hu da'amar k'haitana. The Tanya v'loy ein mishpat mavis b'Goyal Adam hakos medaber. It's saying that the avenger is not put to death if he takes vengeance. Or it's talking about the killer. He didn't hate him the day before or the day before that. That's why he doesn't deserve to die. So it doesn't have to say Hamani Mekayim V'Le'eh Mishpat Maves, that's talking about B'Gail Adam HaKasim Medaber. That's talking about the avenger. So the Gemara asks, Tanan, Moisin Leishnei Talmidei Chachamim, we give two sages to escort the Gail Adam to the Arei Miklat. Shema Yagenu B'derech, lest the avenger kills him on the way. V'yadabru Elav. Now, what did the two Talmidei Chachamim tell him? My lav de masru bey. Doesn't it mean that they warn him? De ikatel barkatalahu. Doesn't it mean that they warn him that if you kill him, you're going to die? In other words, they give him asra that the Gail Adam can't kill him. So that's a raya that the Gail Adam can't kill him. Says Gemara, that's not what it means. It means that they try to soft talk him, to dissuade Kedatanya v'yidabru elav. They tell the avenger dvarim ha'ra'uyim lai, things that are worthy to him. Aimrim lai, not that they give him asra, because if he kills him, he's not put to death. But Aimrim lai, they tell him al tinig by minig shayfrei dama. Don't treat him like a murderer. He fell off the ladder. It was an accident. Okay, could have been a little bit more careful, but it was still a shageg. Rameir says, "Humedaber al yedei atzmai." Rameir says he speaks on his own behalf. You don't need the two Talmidei Chachamim. We let the killer b'shageg speak on his own behalf. Shenema v'zed dvar ha'ritzeach, and these are the words of the killer. Amrulai, now, 1 second. They told Rav Meir, Har b'shlichus oisa. It's more effective when the Talmidei Chacham say it than when the person himself says it. After all, he's angry at that person. He killed his relative b'shogeg. Amamar. So now we're going to review. It's a very big daf, Rabbi say. I just want to tell you that after we do this, we did the Mishnah Yaimis already. After we do this, we're going to have a shir for the Shabbos table on Kriyas Yamsuf. So if you have the time to join, you can join for that too.
Can he kill the Gail Adam if he's defending himself? Is he allowed to, kill them?
Well, if he has a din of a Raidev, so he could kill him, yes. Amamar. Bishkaga ba ma'aseh liyadai. The two Adam say, don't kill him. This came by way of shageg. This came by way of shageg. Says the Gemara, well, pshita. It's obvious, that's why he's going to the Arei Miklat. Diba Mezin Margalasu. If he did it willfully, would he be going to the Arei Miklat? Says the Gemara remember we said that everybody initially went to the Arei Miklat. But Tanya, Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Betchila Echad Shageg ve'Echad Mezid Makdim Arei Miklat. All killers, even Barry, who had a cult, and a silencer. He also goes to the Arei Miklat. Everybody runs there. Echad Shageg ve'Echad Mezid Makdim Arei Miklat. Now, when they hear that Barry is there, Bezdin Sholchan Mavianaisan Mishan. Bezdin summons him to court. Misha Nischayev Misa Haragu. If Barry, there were witnesses, he got asra, then they behead him forthwith. Now, okay. The Rishonim say that the next case is if Barry did it, but there wasn't proper hasra. So he was amazed, but they can't execute him because there wasn't proper hasra, or there weren't two eidim. So then they hand him over to the Gael Adam, and the Gael Adam, finishes him off. Shenema v'sholku ziknei irai, v'laku oisei misham, they take him from there, v'nasnu oisei biyad Gael Adam, they give him to the avenger, v'meis, and they take care of business. The cement boots and everything. Mi shaloi nizkayev, if they ascertain that Barry didn't do it, it was a Barry look-alike, Peteru, then they release him. Shenema v'tzilo eido eseritzach miyad Gael Adam, they tell the Gael Adam, it's the wrong man, you can't touch him. Mishin Ischayev Galas, Mazir and I say the Mekaimai, they return him to the Arei Miklat, and that's where the two Talmidei Chacham say that he's a Shaygeg. They shivu, and they return him. That's what it says. He was there before. They're a shiva, I say, Ha'eda El Ir Miklatai Asher Nas Shama. And he returns to the Arei Miklat where he fled. Rabbi says every killer runs to the Arei Miklat because they make a mistake and they think that the Arei Miklat, it protects everybody. Me'atzman hein galin, kismurin hein, they wrongfully think that the Arei Miklat even saves a killer b'mezid. V'hein ein on yoidin, they don't know sheb'shoygeg kaltais, it saves only those that did it unwittingly. B'mezid ein kaltais. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Ir sheruba reitzchen, a city where the majority are killers, eina koletes, doesn't save anymore. In other words, if let's say in Kedesh, the majority of the occupants of Kedesh are killers. If the majority of the occupants of Kedesh are killers, then Kedesh can't be a city of refuge. Shenamar v'diber ba'oznei ziknei ha'ir ahiyas devarav, the killer, when he comes in, he says his words to the ziknei ha'ir, v'lo shehushvu divrayim l'dvarav, and not where his words are similar to the words of the majority of the city. If his words are similar to the ways of the majority of the city doesn't defend him anymore. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, Ir she'ein ba zakenim, a city that doesn't have a Sanhedrin. Some learn this means a Sanhedrin of 23. Others learn that it doesn't even have a Sanhedrin of 3. Eina koltos, it doesn't save. Diba inon ziknei ir, you need the elders of the city. Veleka. Itmar. Ir she'ein ba zakenim Rabami v'Rabasi, it's machlokes Rabami v'Rabasi. Chadam koletas, one says it saves, and chadam eina koletas. Lamandam eina koletas, that's because the pashtus of the pasuk says, Ba'inon ziknei ir, you have to say to the ziknei ir, Veleka. Lamandam koletas, it still saves, mitzvah ba'alma. It's preferable for it to have zakenim, but it's not ma'akiv. Now the Gemara is going to tell us, we learned this in two other places. We learned this by Ben Sarah Amira, by the wayward and rebellious child. The Ir she'ein ba zakenim Rabami v'Rabasi, it's machlokes Rabami v'Rabasi. Chad Amar Nasaba Ben Sarah Amira, the child there could be executed as a wayward and rebellious child. The Chad Amar ein Nasaba Ben Sarah Amira. Lamanda Amar ein Nasaba Ben Sarah Amira. You know why? Because it says, Va'inon ziknei irai, it says that we take him to the ziknei irai, Veleka. Lamandi Amanasa Ben Saramira, the ziknei irai is not ma'akiv, it's only a mitzvah ba'alma. Finally, the same thing is true with an unsolved homicide where we have to break the heifer's neck. The Ir she'ein ba zakenim Rabami v'Rabasi, it's a machlokes Rabami and Rabasi. Chad Amar mevi'eh egla rufa, they have to bring a heifer. The Chad Amar eina mevi'eh egla rufa, don't have to bring a heifer. Lamanda me'ein mevi agla rufa, because it says, but ziknei ha'irayi. It says the ziknei of the city. V'leka. Lamanda mevi agla rufa. It could bring a heifer. Mitzvah ba'alma. It's not ma'akev. It's just preferable if they have a Sanhedrin. Okay, Rabbi said. Now, first of all, Matzah Yom Tov, we're perfectly positioned now again, since we're a day ahead. So on Yom Tov, we have 2 blat. Also, I want to say that Tony, I'm going to buy back the chametz from Tony if he wants to agree to give it to me back. If not, we'll probably make some money. The people who sold with me can use their chametz again at 9:30 on Sunday night. Sunday night we will have shir at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. will be a shir 2 blat on Sunday night. I did the Mishnah Yomis, and now we're going to do for the Shabbos table. For those that cannot stay, we wish you a Chag Kosher v'Sameach.